I'll kick off with a karakia to get things started. Me uno tātou e te atua, tēnei au, tēnei mātou, au mema kua poti te hapori o Whanganui. Arahina ia mātou, ki te whakatau, nā whakataunga pai, mō te rohi, mō nā tangata katoa, kia piki ai te ora o te hapori, me nā iwi katoa o Whanganui, haumi e hui e taike au. Let us pray, dear God, here I am, here we are, your elected members of Whanganui, guide us to make good decisions for the district, for all people, to uplift the community and all peoples of Whanganui, bring forth unity. It is done. Right, amen. So, look, I'm going to pass over to Councillor Kate, who will chair today, but I just thought it'd be worthwhile running through where the process is at and what happens, not necessarily today, but what happens beyond today. I guess the local water done well is the first thing is it's a topic that has been lingering for a while, whether it's called local water done well or something else, but it's been on our radar for a number of years, and we are getting towards crunch time. For this particular iteration of local water done well, this current coalition government's new legislation, we've consulted with the community. I think the best we can. I think we've done a great job of presenting very complex information to the community, and we've had a result. As a result of that, we've had over 200 people submit on local water done well. And so I want to say thank you to all of those who've submitted. Also, for those that are here today, we're here to hear you, to listen to you, and I'll hear from you and listen to what you've got to say. So I want to say thank you for taking the time on a rainy day to come in and see us. And so I think there are about 11 people who wish to speak, and so we're looking forward to hearing you, and our ears are open to what you have to say. I do want to stress, though, that no decisions will be made today. This is not a decision-making day. This is a listening day, an understanding and day, and then ultimately, I'm not going to go through the detail of what happens from here, but a paper will be put together which will put together a summary of all the submissions and other information to help us to make a decision down the track at a council meeting. And on the water delivery services model that Whanganui chooses to have. And at this stage, we are open to all options, and I think that's a really important point, is that we don't rush to a decision. This is one of the biggest decisions we're going to make for our council for years, and so I think my provocation to all of us around the table is that we are open to every option. It's a dynamic situation, and so I had a call from Mayor Grant Smith just last week, putting another kind of option on the table, if you like. So you know, we're in a situation where we just need to take a lot of complex information on board, and ultimately we'll make the right decision for our community. All right. So thank you very much. I'll pass over to Councillor Kate, and look forward to the rest of the day.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our visitors. You're very welcome here. Russell's up first, but before Russell gets started, I'm going to ask Rob and Philippa to swap your name tags, please. I couldn't call Philippa Rob and Rob Philippa all morning. Yeah. I'm a gentle wee thing. I need careful guidance. Yeah, that's all right. I can figure it. So, thank you. Welcome, Russell. If you push your right-hand button, but just to remind everybody, and I understand that our submitters have heard this too, we have 10 minutes. Each submitter has 10 minutes to speak. You're welcome to organise that as you see fit, but what we usually suggest is that you speak for 5 minutes and then allow 5 minutes for questions. But if you'd prefer to speak for 10 minutes, that's entirely your decision. So welcome, Russell.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Ko Russell Bell. Taku ingoa. No Wanganui aho. Hello and greetings everyone. My name is Russell Bell and I am from Wanganui.
Russell, I'm going to get you to move the mic just a little bit closer to you so that you can be heard online. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. It should be quite clear from my submission that Model 1 is my preferred option. My focus for the next few minutes is to focus on why Models 2, 3 and 4 should be discarded. I will also make some suggestions in respect of safeguards for Model 1. Model 2 does not achieve any scalable savings by way of the sharing of costs with neighbouring territories, nor does it provide the security of supply by way of encompassing the entire aquifer and regional catchments. Having a very close resemblance to the status quo, it may also be seen as not politically astute by central government, whose mission, by way of mergers, is to reduce the current number of 78 authorities managing water services in New Zealand. Model 3, while certainly meeting that central government mission objective, will alienate Wanganui water users who will have a much reduced influence, and that model may also see conflicts from agricultural and urban water interests in access to water resources. It may also see conflicts from southern urban water user demands overriding our own and resulting perhaps in the piping of our aquifer to other regions. And finally, there could be conflict from different iwi viewpoints as to the boundaries of their kaitiangatanga responsibilities. Model 4, like Model 2, is likely to fail the central government sniff test, nor will it provide any scalable savings. Any significant damage to the treatment plants would also put a handbrake on the WDC's ability to borrow for unrelated civic projects such as the Dublin Street Bridge replacement. Model 1 doesn't have any of these problems, but it does have one issue which is of concern, which equally applies to Models 2 and 3, namely taxation. The entity created by Model 1 must be structured as a not-for-profit CCO. If it isn't, then all income received from water users will be taxed at 28%, as will also the dividends paid to the shareholding territorial authorities. That is exactly what happens with Wellington Airport and Centreport. On the other hand, Auckland's Water Care Services has a not-for-profit structure, and consequently it receives income from water users in full without any subsequent deduction of tax. The other two qualifying points for Model 1 made in my submission can be summarised as due diligence. Disclosures as to indebtedness and physical condition or residual lifespan of associated plant and resources needs to be made by the shareholding territorial authorities so that there are no unpleasant surprises downstream, if you'll excuse the pun. Thank you. Ngā mihi nui.
Ka pai. Thank you, Russell. Are you happy to take questions from the other councillors and the mayor?
Sorry?
Are you happy to take questions? Are you open to take questions?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. Councillor Rob, then Councillor Josh.
Thank you, Russell. Just on your point about representation on the shareholders committee, the committee that's formed with amongst the three councils.
Rob, just move your mic a bit closer to,
Sorry.
if you wouldn't mind.
The representation on the shareholders committee, I just wanted to ask you what your feeling is. Given that there's a different level of asset contributed to the CCO by each different council and same debt, do you think there should be proportional representation on the shareholders committee, or should it just be equal for each of the three councils?
That's a very good question. From a governance point of view, I think that perhaps it's the best people for the job, perhaps. But proportional would be democratic if you're looking at the people of Rangitiki and Ruapehu getting a voice at the table. Yes.
Yes. Well, there's two bodies, the board, and that will operate and manage the operation, and then there's the political representatives from the three councils, and that's what I was referring to.
Yes, there needs to be transparency. I didn't really mean this to be a lecture in corporate governance, although I'm quite qualified in that area. There needs to be transparency in all the processes so that you don't get situations as what happens in Wellington, for example, with Wellington Water.
And just one other question, if I may, Madam Chair. You mentioned here security of supply in your submission through there. How does that influenced by having two other councils in a partnership? How does it ensure the supply for Wanganui?
I think we look at the geographic catchment of Wanganui, and it's to the north, isn't it? It's the headwaters of the Wanganui Awa to the north of us. There's also I guess by partnering with Ruapehu and Rangitiki, you would effectively capture the natural catchment of the Awa, and there is a relationship between the Awa and the infrastructure. Again, I'm not a geologist, but I am aware, for example, in the Wellington situation, there is an aquifer which extends far beyond the shoreline at Petone, and by effectively bringing in Rangitiki and Ruapehu, you will capture the entire aquifer that and so create that security of supply. It would be terrible if, well, I used to work and live in the UK, and Manchester gets its water from the Lake District. You know, it's piped 200 miles or something like that. So by going with Ruapehu and Rangitiki, you're making sure that the supply isn't affected or reduced by other parties, New Plymouth perhaps, drawing water off our aquifer.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll move on to Josh.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Russell. Just a quick question of clarification around tax. Have you seen something specific in the legislation that leads you to raise that comment, or is it just a general comment?
It's just a general observation. I looked at water care services to see how it functioned, and taxation sort of hit me all of a sudden, because at the moment in our rates you don't pay tax on the Wellington. I have to apologise for talking about Wellington too much. Wanganui doesn't pay tax on the rates it receives, but if it's and that's because it would be incongruous for it to do so. But the Inland Revenue taxes organisations generally on their trading operations, so that's what has to be watched out for. Again, somebody like Grant Thornton or other people can help you in that area.
Sure, no, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. 10 minutes is up. You've elegantly got to the end perfectly in terms of answering all the questions. So thank you very much for submitting and speaking to us, Russell. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Just for our next submitters, what I'll do is just take one question from each of you, and if you want to ask another question and there's more time, you'll drop down the order just in case we run out of time. So, but good questioning, thank you. Warwick Fennell, welcome.
Thank you.
You're familiar with how this is going to run, Warwick?
Not particularly, ma'am. Which one do I push?
The right one?
I've done that.
Perfect. So,
Closer.
would you like to speak for 5 minutes or thereabouts and then take questions?
I think I'm going to speak for about 6, ma'am.
Okay, and then are you open to taking questions, Warwick?
Very happy to. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Your Worship and Councillors, good morning. My name is Warwick Fennell and I am a ratepayer and have been so for nearly 50 years. Thank you for the opportunity to present my views and findings to the Council on the critical issue of local water done well. Local lobbying and the ability of our Council to take notice and act on its will for people is well demonstrated with the recent demise of the waste food curb collection issue. That issue, though, is minuscule by comparison to local water done well. Curbside recycling, if enacted, could be stopped and rescinded at any time, as it was, because it is a local project totally owned and managed locally. Whereas if a CCO is formed, none of the aforementioned will apply, and we will have dispensed with our precious assets in perpetuity and increase the burden on those who will pay for such a decision. In a way, that certainty has been not disclosed, or the fact is not known, or the facts are not known at this time. It could become another Horizons bureaucratic elephant in the room, with exponential compounding costs, all justified by the aspirational dreams of those governing it, but not in any way benefiting the people who pay the piper. Your consultation document contains no data that any responsible person in governance could make a decision with. Yet it is the only document available by our district council that such a far-reaching decision could be made on. It does not contain the Ruapehu Council's projection of excess of over 180 million capital cost to comply and renew its existing and the expired 7 resource consents and bring its infrastructure up to standard. Rangitikei Council resource consents in terms of the existing 7 expired or soon to be expired consents may be in a similar or even worse situation. Wanganui, on the other hand, I understand has only 2 resource consents that are about to expire, and we have invested heavily in our own 3 waters, and by comparison, we have done very well. A Morrison and Lowe consultation document illustrates that the setup costs of option number 1, 2, or 3 is in excess of $14 million, and the ongoing annual operating costs $15 million. This number does not include the future cost of renewal of resource consents, the capital cost of complying with those consents, expansion of its portfolio, and the meeting of iwi expectations, which are universally agreed will happen, but have not been costed. If the Wanganui consultation document is the data on which the decision is to be made, then I would seriously caution and say that this document falls far short of the Council and Council's fiduciary duty of governance to make such a decision. Page 19 of your consultation document illustrates that Model 1 has an escalating cost over 30 years of 2.4% per annum, compounding. That option 4 shows an escalating cost of 2.7% per annum compounding, or 0.3% per annum more. The unknown capital costs of option number 1 could be as high as 500 million in reality, plus the cost of any iwi agreement, and this is just to comply with current issues. I am not at all convinced that the numbers on page 19 of your consultation document are real, but let's say for the sake of the argument that they are. Then I would be prepared to pay 0.3% annum a premium for the security of keeping our comparatively modern, up-to-date and compliant functioning infrastructure. Or would I pay 0.3% per annum less to permanently trade our infrastructure for something quite inferior and unknown, and to the extent that it may be in perpetuity liability rather than an asset? We do not have enough data in any shape or form to make a decision on option 1 and fulfil our fiduciary duty at this time. To wait and make an informed decision at a time when we can or will have the data to evaluate downstream the ongoing effect and the cost of local water done well is the only defendable option. To make the correct governance decision according to your own information will cost 0.3% of an annum for security of something that is known, is nothing by comparison to the selling of the family jewels or being responsible in perpetuity for our neighbours' glass balls. It could be described as a no-brainer. There is a groundswell in local government that says if central government want these changes, perhaps they should pay for it. It will be interesting to know how this plays out over the coming years. Let's see if the LGNZ starts and earns the fee we pay them to belong. Let's wait and see. The only sensible and defendable governance decision is to wait until the new regulatory ground is firm and the real costs are known and available. To pay 0.3% over a lifetime has been a very cheap premium for the long-term protection of our city, its assets and its ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Warwick. Are there any questions? Go, Rob. We're waiting on you. Go on. Would you like to ask a question? No. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Warwick. There appears to be no questions, so thank you very much for...
It's either a lead balloon or it went okay.
Well, you could use the last couple of minutes to reinforce any points if you'd like. No, okay. All right, thank you, Russell. Not Russell. Look, one thing I should have mentioned was some submitters have provided extra information. So the process will be that information can be looked at by councillors, obviously, but will be formally included in the council papers at our next meeting. So Russell or Warwick, if you've got further information that you've talked about or would like included in our deliberations, you're very welcome to let us know and we can make sure they're part of the process for deliberations. Okay? Yeah. Who have we got next? Tim. Welcome, Tim. think we've got a presentation for you, Tim.
Yep, it's up on the wall there.
Yep.
So,
Pop your mic on. Tim, before you get started, just put your mic on. Diane's going to sort it for you. Lovely. Thank you. A very warm welcome to you representing the Wanganui Residents and Ratepayers Association.
Right, thank you. The presentation is coming up on the wall, and we took the precaution of sending complete copies of that to each of the councillors personally. So I won't track in detail through the whole thing. I just want to hit a few high points. And also I'd like to acknowledge that the information that a lot of the information that's being presented is down to Colin Anderson, who did a huge amount of research. And so thank you, Colin. We understand that this is a central government edict, and so that maybe ties council's hands somewhat. We don't know, but let's hope that that can be changed by further consultation and discussion. It took 2 goes for Wanganui to get its wastewater house in order, and even now, it's been discovered that we've got another $500,000 problem that's got to be fixed. What issues don't we know about Rangitikei and Oakuni's infrastructure requirements? It seems to be a bit of it could be a really open-ended, never-ending issue for us. Whoops. Which way do I go? Sorry. I'll move on from that. It's all well known. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of... Okay. We now receive, as ratepayers, 2 rate demands, one from council and another from Horizons. Strikes me that we could be opening ourselves up for a 3rd one, depending how that thing is put together. Oh, sorry. Those numbers of equating to 363 for each rateable property across the 3 districts is just simple arithmetic of taking the costs that have been estimated and dividing them by the number of ratepayers. Sorry. Now these costs, we understand, have been estimated by or for Rangitikei and Ruapehu district councils and gathered together by Colin Anderson, who's making his own submission this afternoon. One of the things that has struck us is there's been a lot of information from Rangitiki and Ruapehu, which is understandable because they seek to benefit hugely. Very little from Wanganui District Council. Sorry. Oh. So I'm going to go back. Should have stuck with the pen and paper.
Yeah. I know, it is a bold move, including tech.
I've got
Tim,
two
we-
hands working here and
Yeah.
eyes and
Yeah, Tim, we've all had a copy of your
yeah.
slides. So if you're very welcome to start, do this the way you want. But I would suggest to you that we've all had a copy. I've certainly read them last night. So and I'm sure my colleagues will have as well.
Sure.
If you wanted to just pick out your high points and your low
This,
points.
this is what I'm trying to do, but the hands.
Yeah. But we've all got a copy in front of us as well. So
Yeah,
if you wanted to just skip through them and speak to each.
yeah, that's what I'm. Okay. The major point here is that no one knows really how much it will cost to build out Rangitiki's and Owakuni's infrastructure. And is it true that it's not known? I mean, if it is known, we're not being told, which is not fair on ratepayers. Oops. Now, the claimed economies of scale are a bit illusory. Economies of scale generally come together by consolidating assets and things in one place. There's no consolidation of assets and things in one place here. All the infrastructure items, the ponds, the bores, etc., will all be scattered around the district exactly where they are now. So we don't see that there will be any economies of scale from that. The proposed new CCO, the structure is all quite impressive. Board of directors at the top, and various things. But what we see is that the shareholder committee is all powerful. It elects the boards of directors. It organises the Water Organisation Board, and the representation on it is unclear. There is there's going to be political problems about representation. Councils, the minor councils, demanding equal voice. Proportional iwi representation has been demanded, so that's a further complication. So we see that CCO is a bit of a bugger's muddle. The costs of setting it up have been estimated professionally, but one of the standout items which illustrate how expensive these things can be is $7 million for IT, for establishment and 7.8 million ongoing for IT. Very hard to understand. We are firmly of the opinion that Whanganui does have the financial wherewithal to go it alone, and that's been backed up by your own statements in the press. Surrendering the water assets to the CCO will reduce Wanganui's borrowing capacity and compromise its future plans for whatever. Again, we've been disappointed by the lack of information. We do understand that Rangitikei and Ruapehu plus other small councils need the financial help, but this solution, the solutions that have been proposed, seem to put an unfair burden on Wanganui.
Tim,
Maybe the original Three Waters was not a bad idea apart from the iwi influence.
We are at time.
Okay.
Although we did have a couple of technological issues, so if we've got any quick questions.
I think probably, I mean, because of the basis of what I've presented here came from Colin's work, he's probably got the answers. I didn't play first five, I was on the wing.
Tim, would you mind if we allow Councillor Rob to ask his question?
Sure, of course.
But it'll need to be quick,
Yep,
and
thank you.
equally the answer will need to be.
Yes, thank
Quick
you,
too.
Tim. I'm aware that you're representing the Ratepayers Association. There's a number of members. What's the view of the Ratepayers Association to cross-subsidisation? Because a principle here...
Yeah, no, I think you've asked the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Price harmonisation is another word for cross-subsidisation.
I mean, the general tenor of the opinions at the public meeting that we had was that Wanganui should go it alone, which really, in a way, answers that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tim.
I'm apologise for the fumbling.
Not at all. It's a big ask to manage all of those things.
Yeah, I won't
but
do
we
it
had
again.
it well ahead, so I think your point is made. Thank you. So we have the Andersons up next. In my schedule of speakers last night, we had Colin first and then Brenda, but this morning I see it's Brenda first and then Colin. Ladies first, lovely. All right, Brenda, you're very welcome. Please, you're welcome to either have a seat there or stand up at the lectern.
No, that's too conspicuous.
All good. Lovely, thank you. Same rules apply. We've got 10 minutes, and if you'd like to speak you speak for as long as you like, but we'll try and keep to the 10 minutes in total.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr Mayor and councillors, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you regarding this very important matter. I'm a housewife and I've spent 50 years managing a budget on a single income and a spendthrift husband. I'm aware that Wanganui Council to date has been prudent around its Three Waters infrastructure, upgrading the resource consent requirements, and already has a high standard of treatment facilities whilst retaining practical and realistic demands on ratepayer funding. On April 2024, I was heartened to read the following quote from David Langford CE in the Wanganui Chronicle. Our balance sheet can take it quite comfortably, and I think going it alone is a credible option. Then, on the 4th of October 2024, Mike Tweed reported, Council Chief Executive David Langford says that Wanganui's water treatment plants are already compliant with standards. Our water infrastructure has been well looked after. Our treatment plants are compliant with standards, and we've got upgrades to make sure they keep pace with the increase in standards that's coming. Langford said the council had debt capacity so it could fund service delivery comfortably as it was. Langford said he could not foresee any obvious set-up costs for going it alone. We could continue doing what we're doing. Going it alone is a credible option that council will give serious consideration to. Mr. Langford's statements that Whanganui could go it alone are reinforced by the Department of Internal Affairs detailed options analysis and financial report of the 8th of November 2024. In December of 2024, Council held an online forum where folks could give their feedback on the topic. I read every single response, and nearly every respondent wanted Three Waters to remain in-house. So when I opened the River City Press on the 20th of March this year, I was met with the unwelcome news that Council's preferred option was a multi-council organisation with Rangatiki and Ruapehu district councils. This was especially concerning, knowing that both Rangatiki and Ruapehu require a lot of capital expenditure to become compliant. My immediate thought was that something hinky was going on. The quote saying it also achieves a larger scale, which leads to greater borrowing power, helping to keep costs to the ratepayer lower over the medium to longer term, does not address how the immediate costs of setting up this entity will increase our rates. To say our rates will be negligibly different cannot be true. Currently, we have a staff of about 20 operational staff. Council's proposal of a CCO that has to stand alone and be separate from Council includes additional administration staff, additional senior management executive team, and an overall operational team, an additional chief executive, a board of professional directors, a committee made up of representatives from the three councils, and on top of that, a consultation structure for the multiple iwi groups within the districts. With this extra layer of bureaucracy, there's no way you can still retain local control. The financial resources will be focused on the most pressing needs, which, based on the three councils' long-term plans, this expenditure will have to be in Rangatiki and Ruapehu for the first several years of CCO control. The documentation supplied by Council for public consultation is extremely disappointing. A few of the points from the document I would like to address. I have an issue with Council's notion of equitable financial outcomes, given that equity is a code for communism. By supporting Rangatiki and Ruapehu, you'll be stealing from Whanganui ratepayers, given that those districts need to spend massively to become compliant. It is disingenuous to say that harmonisation underpins the benefits of a joint model when the Department of Internal Affairs report specifically says that harmonisation is not a necessary part of Council's preferred model. Larger organisations may enjoy benefits of scale, but it has an enormous downside, killing local businesses, local production and entrepreneurship. Local companies employ local people and their profits go back into the local economy. An example of this is the way in which big supermarkets have killed independent butchers and greengrocers. I used to see family-owned businesses like Loaders and Bullocks around town engaged in council work. Now I only see Downer, which is not even a New Zealand company, so their profits go offshore. I find this rather hypocritical, as when I've helped contractors compile tender documents, there is generally a question around which local companies you will use. I understand that local companies are not even being given the opportunity to price council jobs these days, despite them having decades of experience. Council support of local businesses fosters economic growth, creates jobs and revitalises communities. By investing in local businesses, councils can improve local employment, reduce unemployment and boost economic stability. Local businesses also contribute to the character and vibrancy of community. A thriving business environment attracts further investment, leading to continued growth. Even San Francisco, possibly the wokest city on the planet, gets it. They do not allow chain stores into some areas to protect small businesses. I note that the governance chart on Rangatiki's website shows input from iwi. This is conspicuously absent from Wanganui Council's document. Perhaps Council perceives it might not be popular with ratepayers. It appears that there has been no consultation with iwi on the matter and no costings on their involvement. When I require work to be done on my house or car, I get a quote first to ascertain that I can afford it. Council has not done this. What's worse in this instant is that Council is committing other people's money. The chart showing the estimated annual average cost for water users is meaningless. There is no supporting data to show how the figures were arrived at, not even on Council's website. The numbers may as well have been plucked out of someone's shiny arse. No doubt, councillors have been advised by council staff that the initial set-up costs of a CCO will be in excess of $14 million. Manawatu, Kapiti and Nelson councils have all elected to retain in-house delivery of their water assets. All three cite excessive set-up costs and loss of local control. Manawatu also felt that the in-house model better aligns with government's Local Water Done Well initiative, which encourages councils to manage water services independently. In summary, the consultation document is a feeble effort to coerce the proletariat to choose council's preferred option. I am just a dumb housewife, but I'm not deceived. I'm with the 3/4 of submitters who want Wanganui's Three Waters to remain in-house. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Just one question from me. 3/4 of submitters? Where did that information come from?
It came from the record produced by council of those that made submissions.
Oh, okay. We have that. Yeah, that's news
Colin
to me.
will speak to that.
Okay.
Some numbers on that if that would help.
Lovely. Thank you.
And no questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Any questions? We're just about out of time anyway,
Yes.
Brenda. But yeah, we're at time. So thank you.
It's not a question, sorry, Madam, but I just wanted to clarify. It was 83% in favour, not 75.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, excuse me, the submission that Brenda has just made, where do we find that here? Because
Colin did the count. He went through all the submitters.
yeah, no, sorry, I'm talking about another issue here.
So Brenda, like I said before, if you have additional information that you'd like to provide for us, and that includes what you just read out, you're very welcome to do that. All right? I just ask that you cross out some of those less than appropriate words, like us. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just getting back to what
Yep.
I asked, the submissions from, and I presume from Colin, I don't see them on the Teams
So,
here.
as I explained earlier in the meeting, Rob, those is the additional information that our submitters are providing this morning will be included as part of the deliberations papers. So that's when they will get into the formal council process. But if we've got paper copies now, yeah, very welcome to provide those, like some of our submitters have.
So we can't analyse their submission while they're here and actually ask them a question about it.
So there is the written submission that we've got. If our submitters want to provide further written information, they are very welcome to do that. Some has been passed around. As you know, some has been emailed to you in the last couple of days. But if we don't have a paper copy of what they were talking to this morning, there's not much more we can do really, except provide it a little bit later. All right, so thank you. Thank you, Brenda. Colin, you're very welcome to either come and sit at the table or stand at the lectern.
That's ridiculous. Fortunately, I printed this one off.
Start.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Madam Chair, Mr Mayor.
Just a moment. Excuse me. No sidebar talking, and can you please turn off your mic, Rob? Thank you, Colin.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to my submission. Just to clarify Councillor Vincent's query, yes, we can provide copies of our presentation words, and I think you have a copy of, thank you, and you have a copy of the notes from the presentation I did to the Ratepayers Association a couple of weeks ago, which is background information. That all I picked off the internet websites for councils and basically was intended as a background information to help. Okay, so I understand that was live streamed and it may still be up, but it was about an hour and a half long, so I don't think that we want to go in that today. Okay. Just a bit of background. In early March, I was asked about my thoughts on local water done well by a member of the Whanganui Ratepayers Association, and I attended Council's public consultation meeting at the gallery to inform myself. I was a little bit horrified at the lack of factual and financial information being presented by Council to try and justify their preferred choice. And I believe there are a number of deficiencies in Council's consultation document. My first, I look at why Model 3, the multi-council amalgamation. My understanding is Taurua have already opted to go with Wairarapa. Horowhenua appears to be getting in bed with Palmerston North. Both Kapiti and Manawatu have chosen status quo as the most economical option, and which retains local control of their assets. I see status quo as also a choice of a number of other councils around New Zealand, such as in the case of Nelson. Secondly, there was no information on the projected yearly rate costs per consumer. This information was included in other districts' documentation. There's no link between this document and Council's LTP financials to compare expenditure requirements. The establishment cost of the CCO was not included, and as it's been said before, it's in the order of 14 million over the first 3 years. The yearly operation cost of the CCO was not included. Once again, you got that. And details of iwi involvement and requirements were not included, either physical or financial. I believe councillors, you are elected to be prudent stewards of your community's 3 water assets and ratepayers' money. You cannot make an informed decision based on the 4 models using the information contained in the consultation document has been presented so far. So, following Council's presentation at the gallery, I went online over a period of 3 to 4 days to research consultation documents and LTPs for the districts mentioned. Included in the information were reports from Morrison Lowe Consultants and the Department of Internal Affairs regarding local water done well. These are referenced in the back of the other document you have.
With the exception of Whanganui, all other councils' information was easy to find. In particular, Rangitikei and Ruapehu included graphs and tables of costs to consumers on a yearly basis. Their costs show a reduction after year 3. They also included a detailed management structure diagram of the CCO, which included the iwi involvement. Both districts had special emphasis on harmonisation after year 3. This is when the consumers' costs would significantly reduce, as Whanganui consumers would be subsidising their 3 water infrastructure costs. Now, in looking at the LTPs, we see over the next 10 years, Whanganui is shown as $159 million worth of expenditure, Rangitikei $125 million, and Ruapehu $184 million. Now, if you reduce that down to cost per consumer, for Whanganui, that's $9,350. Rangitikei, it's $25,510. And Ruapehu is $32,860. Now, if you harmonise those, that means that everybody will be paying in the order of $17,500. So Whanganui consumers would jump from $9,300 to $17,000. That does not seem like a very equitable system to me. And why is this? Is basically Whanganui would be taking on the combined LTP expenditure for the other 2 districts of $308 million. So we're going from tripling the actual expenditure requirements with only another 50% number of payers. And the payers I've only taken as those who are connected to the water reticulation systems within the 3 districts. Also note that Ruapehu have retained their stormwater infrastructure in-house in their proposal. Now, they have very little stormwater infrastructure and their spend each year is very, very low. And this basically would avoid them having to contribute to Whanganui's stormwater infrastructure or that of Rangitikei. That is not a benefit to Whanganui ratepayers, I would suggest. A general overview of the CCO options is that they're a watered-down version of Labor government's 3 waters policy. And recently there's been talk of amalgamation of councils, and I can't help but think that this is why council staff are pushing for Model 1. I would, though, remind you of a statement made by Simon Watts, the Minister for Local Government, that he won't be forcing amalgamation on any council. He stated, quote, "Any discussions, decisions and actions on this are a matter for councils themselves and their communities," unquote. If there is even an amalgamation of councils, in my opinion, I think it would be naive to think that Whanganui will get the one ring that rules them all. I refer now to the public consultation process. This is a fundamental aspect of local water done well decision process. Government's directive to councils was to follow the community's wishes. Now, council received 227 submissions on local water done well, and I note that 11 had chosen to speak to their submissions, 9 of whom had submitted in favour of the status quo. I've read every submission. Common themes were: A number of submitters commented as to how poor the consultation document was. Concerns were raised over costs and loss of local control. Most people believed Whanganui had been prudent over previous years in upgrading our facilities and did not want to pay for others who had not been so prudent. And there were some who weighted more than one option, and this resulted in a total of 244 votes by my analysis. Now, my brief analysis of the preferences, using a weighting of 7 and above as being a positive vote, gave the following results. Model 1, CCO with Whanganui, Rangitikei and Ruapehu, 44 votes. Model 2, CCO with Whanganui only, 24 votes. Model 3, CCO with multi-councils, that's 13 votes, the least favourable. Model 4, status quo, Whanganui, as in-house, 163 votes, the choice of the community. The majority of submitters who chose Model 4, status quo, gave it a 10 out of 10, full support. And in summary, 77% of the votes were for Whanganui remaining status quo. That, councillors, is the community instructing you on how to vote on local water done well. It is now up to you, councillors, to put aside any personal preferences, support your ratepayers, and vote as instructed by your community. So I thank you for your time and attention, and I just would like to say that spendthrift is rather harsh, coming from somebody who has over 170 pairs of shoes.
Thank you, Colin. Just before I take questions, and we're just about out of time, I'm just going to make a correction of fact for you. When these consultation documents are decided and a preference is articulated in those consultation documents, it is this council that makes that decision. It is not staff.
Yep.
Thank you. Rob, did you have a question?
Can you just ask someone else at the moment?
There is no one else.
Okay.
I don't have a question for myself.
Righto. Well, thank you for the submission. It's very detailed and very technical, and contains useful information.
Time is up, Rob, but if you can make it a quick question, we'll allow it.
So, obviously, you've got some professional qualifications. Can you tell us what qualifications you've got to actually do this type of work?
I'm a civil engineer. I was employed for at least 15 years in Whanganui District Council and 3 water infrastructure assets. And
Council?
This council, yes, correct. And I was the asset manager, or 3 water asset manager at Rangitikei District Council for 5 years. So I do know about Whanganui and Rangitikei 3 water infrastructure.
Okay, so just another question.
Quickly.
If there was no price harmonisation, do you think that going into partnership could still work?
It would be a more amenable option. However, there is a distinct difference between Whanganui and the other 2 districts. Whanganui is fully urban as such. The other 2 districts are very rural, multiple communities, multiple facilities. All their wastewater pretty much is oxidation ponds, low technology. Whanganui is not. Whanganui is high technology. Low technology discharges go to waterways. Waterways are not the flavour of the month. The only problem with that is you're required to do land irrigation. There are a lot of communities, especially in the Rangitikei, where you cannot irrigate to land.
Yeah. And do you believe that Whanganui District Council could offer professional services to these other 2 councils rather than partnership?
Whanganui District Council already does and have done for a number of years, and I refer to there probably to likes of health inspectors, planning technology or experience. Even when I was with council, the Whanganui planners were actually doing work for Ruapehu and Rangitikei over the years, so that is an option. I have been involved in shared services. There is a possibility, though, or danger of that the provider starts charging maybe more than is necessary and makes a profit off the smaller community.
All right. Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you for all the information that you've provided and for submitting and speaking with us this morning.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. So we've scheduled for a break now through till 10:50. Mr. Arnold is not able to present this morning, so the next one will be Mr. Holloway at 10:50. Thank you. Via video. Thank you. Beauty, thank you. Thank you. We're on the air again, so we'll get started. Our next submitter is Mr. Holloway, Mr. Graham Holloway, and he is going to do his verbal submission via video, and that is a recorded video. So we'll play that.
Thanks, team. I appreciate the opportunity of being able to talk today because I'm leaving the country in 2 days, and unless you want to come to America to talk to me, it'll happen, but never mind.
That's as loud as
I'll start, I've got things numbered. I'll start with how I've written it up. So, David Langford has, at first, if I quote someone's name, it's not in a degrading way or in a disrespectful way, it's just I've read. David Langford has been quoted via the paper saying our system is robust and suits our needs. So then through life, when someone from like we've been through my life, in the age I am, when sent from government or a politician say it will be cheaper, has always turned out to be the contrary. They say that to get what they want to justify their existence, then when it turns out wrong, they're gone. Being part of the Wanganui Ratepayers Association, we had guest Colin Anderson, an engineer very knowledgeable and familiar with all water assets and geographical existing problems over a wide area, even outside of the proposal, give a presentation on what is proposed, being all options. He did an absolute amazing presentation, and if a Wanganui District Councillor had been there in a personal capacity being a ratepayer, they would have learnt so much from it. There are so many pitfalls in the proposed amalgamation. A, no absolute costings for the new identity, including proposed salaries. B, identified lapsed and near-ending resource consents in the 2 areas. That's been the other 2 areas. An example of that is the wastewater plant in Rātahi, with a discharge in the stream, like many other inland ones do. So that's the one issue just coming into Rātahi. He knew about wastewater issues within the proposed area because he has been involved in resource consents. The new resource consent process will include Maori due to their beliefs on the water quality. That's no disrespect to Maori, however, that's the way it is. They've got probably more emphasis on the water. That in itself creates potential offensive amounts of money for ratepayers to pay for the consultation time, and furthermore, no mention of that has been made. An article on the 17th, 25 in the Wanganui Chronicle, headed 3 to Tango, has myself and a lot of others worried because yet again we've got council making statements about costings when they don't have all the details what Wanganui District Council are putting themselves in for. The audacity to expect ratepayers to pick up the tab for their mistake. That opens up the opportunity to take the matter to the Ministry of Local Authorities. Furthermore, councillors who make this mistake should put their money where their mouth is and pay for their mistake themselves. I'm extremely positive if that was the case, we would not have had money spent on the hotel complex that was apologised by Andrew Tripe at a ratepayers meeting, and of course the Sargent Gallery that had like an open checkbook rather than a fixed contract that we should have had, that David Langford acknowledged, and now District Council having fixed price contracts. Articles in our local paper indicate that the other 2 councils have not upgraded their systems like we have, and an article in the 10th for 25 from Western Curtin, as well as other I have, reinforced that. In fact, an article by Western that I forgot to date, and that doesn't matter because in the print states that the 3 water model is the only viable option for them because they have stated before that there are small councils with limited resources and cover a large area. That comment also being aired by Carol Gordon from Rangatiki. Putting things in perspective, the other 2 councils are looking for us to bailing them out of the smelly brown stuff. By that theory, we should hold all work off on our sewage plant that has got an expensive problem and wait until the other 2 councils pay towards it, like they want us to pay for theirs. The report significantly identifies specific issues with Ruapehu and Rangatiki with respect to their assets and the state in which they are in, and through the report and that with a dash of speed it was realised that they want to use our good assets to value to prop up them. That is offensive. It's said that at our meeting, what about the neighbourly thing? Well, then it was said, where were our neighbours when we had to sort issues? twice for our wastewater system, now third time, and an article in Wanganui Chronicle, $435,700 mentioned, and where were they when the ratepayers were being hit for the Sergeant Gallery, overspend that falls on ratepayers. It's ironic they are conspicuous by their absence. That means they fix their own problems like we've had to. Concerns were raised where the office for the new identity be placed, and more than likely slow response for Wanganui incidents by staff having to travel, whereas under the current system they're already here. Wanganui District Council should keep all water assets in-house for themselves because ratepayers have had paid for it and other councils don't have the right to treat us like UNICEF for them. Wanganui District Council, by that, have had control of our elected councils, will also know if they are good on how they're if they are good, how it's been turn the page. Managed. Another problem we have got is the affected people as the ratepayers, through no fault of theirs, get very tired of council made decisions that have disastrous effects impacting rates. This is no exception. I personally have had a lot of discussion read the proposal about Colin's presentation, and not one person wanted to join councils for the same reasons as stated. When we had Carl Bates at our meeting recently and Andrew Trott was there, I said to Carl that we need to have it legislated that domestic rates are capped at the rate of inflation. That you, Wanganui District Council, for getting it right. Thank you, Wanganui District Council, for getting it right, this proposed increase. I attended the meeting with him at Wanganui's Hahiki Rooms, and he made comment about the Horizon 11.2% rise, and he was absolutely not happy by his comment to me. That is when I reiterated about the cap on domestic rates, and he acknowledged that by making a written note for himself. If Wanganui District Council go with other councils, the costings will be out of control like the Sergeant Gallery. However, I don't think that ratepayers will be as tolerant as they were with the gallery, especially that it's election time. I like Ross Fallon's comment at the special council meeting with the food scraps. He said ratepayers are extremely tired of council not listening to them, and it was time to give them a break. How right he is. In essence, Wanganui District Council are obliged through legislation to deliver services to the ratepayer for the least possible price. Not being disrespectful to David Langford, but he quoted that at one of our meetings. That means that until all possible costs are known, then only after that can the idea be put to the ratepayer, so that in essence, that means we stay as status quo. So I've added some little bit more to it since I've written that. There's absolutely no valid reason to create a single identity so others can borrow against it. And because Wanganui assets are superior to the other two, and secondly, there is absolutely no reason why the credit to Wanganui through their ratepayer assets is basically given away so Wanganui District Council can borrow more. Both have a common problem, that is that the ratepayers pick up the tab again unacceptable. I said about Carl Bates here, legislate. It would be very good for Carl Bates to legislate. He took me very seriously. That is a very good thing to do, because although Wanganui Council's got it right this time, when we went in the Hahiki Hall, when he saw the 11.2 rates increase for the Horizons, he was not impressed, totally unimpressed. And that's when I said, that's how we've got to handle it. So that's all I've written. I know I went through it in a bit of a hurry. Am I within the time frame?
Mm-hmm. You've got another 2.5 minutes.
Oh, cool.
If there's anything else you want to say?
No, I think I've covered it. It's, that report from Colin Anderson was extremely good. And I've been involved with reports in my trade as a Sparky, and he really went out of his way to get that report pretty right and being unbiased. And he made some comments, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, what he had in black and white is what really counts. But we were very concerned about how the other councils want us to join them, but can't tell us what's wrong with theirs. We just started to pump the smelly brown stuff for miles and miles up a pipe. That tells me there's something wrong. We should not be part of it. And I reiterate, if we have to go to the situation of being with them, we don't really have to, because we've got the choice. Then we put our sewage plant on hold and let them subsidise ours and just see how much they like that. That's about really. Again, thank you.
Cool. Very good. All right. Thank you, Graham. We'll move on now to our next presenter, Denise Locker. Welcome, Denise. You're very welcome to sit down or stand at the podium, whatever suits you best. So, Denise, you've got 10 minutes, and entirely up to you as to whether you'd like to speak to us for 10 minutes or allow some time for councillors and the Mayor to ask you questions.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou katoa. Ko Denise Lockett aho. I'm Denise Lockett. Grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, been around for a while. I'd like to thank the previous submitters who have done all that research. It's really excellent. Anne Salmon said, a healthy democracy requires active participation of citizens in public life and debate. Without this participation, democracy becomes a preserve of the small, select elite. Funny that, because it's happening. If you've read the supplied papers, you will note that my deep concern for the safekeeping and protection of our most precious commodity, water, ripples through each and every submission I've made to District Council. Some of the reasons for this are included in the Holman Northey Kelsey report supplied. On beginning to read Council's booklet, after underlying and questioning several sentences over the first 2 or 3 pages, I began to wonder what's going on. What's wrong with the status quo? If we believe our Council's press releases, our water infrastructure is in great shape. Why change anything that ain't broke? WDC states its preferred option. Why? Where's the factual information regarding Ruapehu and Rangatiki's state of their water infrastructure? Absolutely essential for any of us to be able to submit. Where's the transparency? One of our Council's duties is to remain impartial. So why then has our Council attempted to influence our submissions? How are we supposed to make an informed decision when Council has not supplied the crucial facts on which to base our conclusions? What value does this invitation to submit actually have? The booklet content appears to be all huff and bluff to me. Who benefits from this stated preference? Democracy is a power struggle between paid interests and civil society. One stated key advantage given for supporting WDC's chosen option is it enables higher levels of borrowing. Really? Do you councillors run your domestic affairs in this manner? Do you jump up and down for joy if Amex offers you a platinum card or the bank a higher mortgage or overdraft level? Do you really view increasing your debt levels as a positive? Guess who pays in the end? Have you any idea which corporation actually supplies council, citizens of this city, with this debt? I have had councillors tell me repeatedly that we can borrow so cheaply. A debt is a debt is a debt. Have you considered that the more we borrow, the more some international financial corporation owns our assets? Have you researched what we sign away when doing so? Or do you just have utter faith that you know what you're doing because it's always been so? Have you thought of the increasing levels of debt the councils have accrued and what a mess that has created when trying to look after our city? The next stated advantage is increased political influence with central government. How? We already belong to LGNZ, to which most of the country's councils are still members. That is exactly why we pay over $60,000 per year for our membership. Even more puzzling is the addition of option 3. They don't want us, for crying out loud. So in the interests of transparency and a proper democratic process, I ask that any publication paid for us state the following content: who designed the layout, who authored the text, who created the forecast table, page 19, what pertinent qualifications they hold, what company they belong to, and what did their contribution cost we, the ratepayers. Over the last few months, I've heard at least 2 economists admit they really don't know the economic future with absolute certainty. We here in the city have experienced 2 excessive disasters, actually disgraceful, regarding this type of forecast during the first our wastewater plant, and second the Sargent Art Gallery. To me, those forecasts are part of an absolute snow job. A criminal is someone with predatory intent who lacks the funds to form a corporation, Adam Smith. Be very wary of the international corporations constantly circling, awaiting to gobble up anything of value throughout the world. And beware of the fact that our governments have signed away our rights to prevent this devastation in trade deals. My vote is for the status quo, the retention of complete ownership and control of our city waters. I ask you also to seriously consider adopting the 12 steps from the 2014 submission from TPPA Action to attempt to protect our city and our business people and contractors, its citizens and its assets. I don't know if you approached LGNZ in the same way as you approached them during the Three Waters debate, stating that you were against a separate bureaucracy being set up on the basis that it actually bleeds the people of the country. Every bureaucracy we set up, as others have stated, have tiers of people sucking our money out of our community. So I would hope that you would fight any effort, tooth and nail, any attempt from government to privatise our water. And I would also ask that you be very wary of Veolia, and the information is in here, and their hugely damaging reputation throughout the world. They've been thrown out of France. Several states in America won't have them, and it's rebounding all over the globe. I thank you for your time and the ability to submit to you.
Thank you, Denise. Would anybody like to ask any questions?
Hi.
Charlotte.
Thank you. Hi, Denise. Thank you so much for your submission and taking the time. Could you just expand a little bit on the controversy around Veolia and what has led them to be?
I have supplied information here. In one city, I think it was Pittsburgh in the States, I've actually stated this in other submissions, I think it was years ago now, it dates back some time because I have stated it before, over 90,000 people were cut off from their water by Veolia because their rates were so high. When you allow contractors in, I mean, that's because the water control was handed over to them. When you allow contractors in, that is the first step to ownership. They're controlling a very valuable asset that should be kept within council with council employees who are answerable to the ratepayers or to the citizens of the city. That should be kept under total control. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing, you're saying that control was handed over to Veolia in other countries.
Yeah. If you look at what I've supplied in the Holman Council Kelsey report, you will find stuff, and you will find the demands under the TPPA that countries, and the International Monetary Fund does this too, when they lend, they insist that countries agree to their mining rights, their forestry rights, happen all through South America, be handed over, and that's the cost of borrowing. Right.
Thank you.
Right, I think that's the questions done. Thank you very much, Denise, for
you.
your submission and for coming along to talk with us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Brian. Welcome, Brian. Just so you know how we're going to roll at this hearing this morning, thank you firstly for your submission, and I expect the team have let you know, but 10 minutes is allotted to each speaker who wants to talk to their submission. If you've got any other information that you want to leave with us, you're very welcome to. And the way some people roll is they like to do 5 minutes speaking, and then there's 5 minutes ready for questions, but totally up to you how you want to use your 10 minutes.
I will struggle to do one presentation.
Oh, okay. Can I ask you to turn your mic on? I think Colin's going to help you with that. Lovely. Thanks, Colin.
Is it? Yep.
So the floor's yours, Brian. Welcome and great to have you with us.
Thank you. I guess in summary, I'm passionately for the status quo. I've only got 3 points that I want to make that are very brief. The first one is that I understand the current system works. So why change something that works? I have spoken to a few people around this table, and I gather from the people I have spoken to around this table that it does work. So why change it? You know, why mess with something that we admit works really well for our city? So that's my first point. My second point is I'm all in favour of keeping things local. So I don't want to join with Rangatiki or who the other people are. We're a city of about 50,000. We're big enough to be able to do our own stuff here. And I have a suspicion that while our water system is brilliant, I have a suspicion that the people that we're looking to team up with may well have some big issues, and they're in very spread out areas. So I foresee complexity by joining with anybody outside of the Wanganui area. So, you know, because of potential complexities and potential issues in other areas, let's carry on doing it locally. And then my third and final point is that I do believe a new structure will end up costing more. I'm a chartered accountant. In my past life, before I sort of did my own thing, I have been involved in mergers and acquisitions, and it is always stated that by merging two entities, there's going to be cost savings. I think it's Harvard University who have done a study, and I think it's something like 80% of M&As don't end up saving money. In fact, they end up costing more money. And part of the reason is you layer more bureaucracy into it. So when I read through what's proposed in this proposal, there's more layers of bureaucracy that I think are going to cost more. And even in what's proposed, there's a very small cost saving that I just don't believe is going to happen. And I guess, yeah, I'm puzzled, and I might be wrong on this, but Wanganui and Partners that I've been a bit involved with, you know, Andrew, you've brought that back in-house to be more efficient, to save money. So there's an example of an outside entity that had its own governing board, and you as a council have decided to bring it back in-house because it will be better. So if that's the business case for Wanganui and Partners, why is there a proposal to do the opposite with water and take it out? So that's what I believe, those 3 points.
All right. Thank you. We've got a few questions by the look of it. Rob.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Just as a comment, the terminology economies of scale and bigger is better, which is behind a lot of this. Can you elaborate on that, your views on that, please?
I think we're a city of 50,000. We've got sufficient size and scale here that we're relatively efficient. So I don't believe the proposal to join up with smaller areas like Rangatiki and wherever else it is, I just think they're sparse populations. They will have big issues that they need to deal with, and I predict they'll have funding issues. So it's probably good for them to join us so that we can help pay for their issues, but I don't believe that's in the best interests of Wanganui people, and we're big enough to continue going alone.
So is there any sort of ethical reason why we should help them out, those other councils?
Ethical? Well, I think that's a government thing. No, it's not for Wanganui. I mean, our job here, surely, is to look after the people that you guys represent within Wanganui. Our job isn't to go up to Awakuni or Rarahi or these places. We're to do with Wanganui. You know, Palmerston North, completely separate. You know, so if they've got issues and funding issues because of failing infrastructure, then they need to address that either through their own local rates or through getting government help. It's not our problem. So we've got enough issues here. Why do we want to complicate it by expanding the area that then you guys are going to get caught up in issues that are nothing to do with Wanganui?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Ross?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Brian. I apologise for my voice. One question. It's not necessarily what I believe. There is a statement out there that in a combined three-council model, that this will enable us to potentially get larger loans over a longer period of time at a lower interest rate in order to complete projects that would benefit all three projects with that outlook. Do you have a comment on that outlook?
I didn't quite hear the last comments, but I'm in favour of that. I'm not in favour of loans. I personally don't think it'll make a big difference. And if there's any prospect of any privatisation, I'm very anti that. In a former life, I used to work for the National Health Service in the UK, and one of my jobs was signing off on projects like private-public partnerships. And, you know, as a chartered accountant, there were a number of occasions where I refused to sign off on the projects. The projects went ahead because my boss signed off on them. But myself, as a chartered accountant, I felt I couldn't justify it. So my boss had to sign off. So, no, I don't buy that argument.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like we've got any more questions.
Great.
So thank you very much.
We're keeping water in house? Is that the answer?
Thank you very much for making a submission, Brian, and then coming along and speaking to it. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
All right, team. I think we're about done. Is there something? Yes. Yeah. So we have got a workshop after this about something totally unrelated, just to remind you. But thank you very much for your attendance and your participation this morning. I hope our submitters have felt heard. I've certainly noticed you've all been actively listening, so really appreciate that. And thank you to our submitters again. We've got deliberations on what date? 20th? Is it the 20th of May? Yeah, so deliberations on the 20th of May, and all of this information, along with that we'd previously been provided, along with any further information that's been presented this morning, will be included in those deliberations. Thank you very much, everybody, and our guests, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
What was it she said?